In 1987, the Waterbed Manufacturers Association claimed that roughly 1 in 4 American households owned a waterbed. Their number, their survey, and trade groups have every incentive to report high. What's independently documented is this: 22% of all mattress sales in the United States that year were waterbeds. Put it in context. Dishwashers were in 64% of American homes. Color televisions in 78%. The waterbed was in the same consumer tier as the microwave oven. It wasn't a fringe product. It was a furniture category, and understanding how it got there, and how everything in the room around it got there, and why all of it vanished within 15 years, tells you more about 1980s American life than almost anything else you could study. This is the story of a design vocabulary. The waterbed, the brass fixtures, the bathroom carpet, the popcorn ceiling, the touch lamp, the Yadro figurine. These things belong together. They were chosen deliberately by people who wanted the best their decade offered, and they formed a system of aspiration so coherent and so complete that tens of millions of Americans spoke it fluently without ever knowing they were speaking a language that would become incomprehensible within a generation. Charles Pryor Hall was a design student at San Francisco State University in 1968. His thesis project was a piece of furniture designed around the concept of displacement, the idea that water would fill the gaps, support every curve of the body, eliminate pressure points in a way no conventional mattress could. His first prototype was a vinyl bag filled with 300 pounds of cornstarch. It failed. He moved to water. Hall named the result the Pleasure Pit. His entire class spent a night on it. The patent, U.S. Patent 3,585,356, for a device Hall formerly called a liquid support for human bodies, was granted in 1971. That same year, Time magazine reported that the waterbed display at Bloomingdale's department store in Manhattan had become, for a period, a popular singles meeting place. Hall himself acknowledged that customers bought it for the sensual or the sexual part of it. The first commercial versions sold through San Francisco head shops and adult boutiques, and that association kept the waterbed out of respectable middle-class households for years. The New York Times ran a headline on May 21, 1978, "The waterbed has come out of the closet." That's the turning point in one sentence. By the late 1970s, vinyl bladder quality had improved dramatically. Early models leaked with enough frequency to be genuinely unreliable. By the late 70s, they weren't. Waterbed City, a chain that started in Fort Lauderdale in 1971, was expanding through the South. Specialty stores were appearing in suburban strip malls. It was no longer a novelty. It was a furniture category. A queen-sized waterbed, fully filled, weighed approximately 1,500 pounds. You measured your floor joists before committing. The load was distributed across a 6-by-6-foot platform, which put it within standard residential floor tolerances. But the anxiety was real, and the industry knew it. Waterbed owners obtained liability insurance. Some landlords banned the beds outright. The heater ran continuously because the water took days to warm from cold, and you were never turning it off again. The electricity cost was real and measurable. Estimates ranged from 300 to 1,500 kilowatt-hours annually, depending on climate and bed size. Standard fitted sheets didn't work. The waterbed sheet market was its own product category, sold alongside vinyl conditioner, which prevented algae and kept the bladder supple, and repair patch kits, commercially sold and documented right down to the Culligan-branded box still turning up on eBay. The specific sound when someone sits on the edge too fast, the specific anxiety about the leak, the floor, the downstairs neighbor, the Monday morning discovery. Every person who owned one has a leak story or knows someone who does. 58, and I had mine until about 2000, one owner recalled. I loved it, especially the heater. That's the register. Not irony, not nostalgia with a wink. Actual grief for something genuinely good that is genuinely gone. The waterbed's bedroom had brass in it, not as an accent, as the default. Light fixtures? Brass. Cabinet hardware? Brass. Faucet handles? Brass. Towel bars? Brass. Door handles? Brass. Curtain rods? Brass. Fireplace accessories? Brass. The New York Times in 1998 wrote, There's a reason those hotshot 1980s real estate developers were called brassy. They used a lot of brass. That piece ran in 1998 because 1998 was the year brass was officially over. The headline read, "Brass, it's no longer the top." The brass era lasted roughly 15 years, from the late 1970s through the early 1990s, and ended with near completeness. Finding original brass fixtures today requires a house built before 1992 that has never been touched. The single object that most precisely defines the era has no widely agreed upon name, which is a strange fact about something so universal. It was a horizontal bar mounted above the bathroom mirror, with exposed globe bulbs spaced at intervals along the bar, all brass finished, flooding the face with even light from every angle. The design originated in the dressing rooms of 1930s movie stars. Call it what it was, the Hollywood bar. If your house was built between 1978 and 1992, this light was above your bathroom mirror. The touch lamp stood beside the sofa, a single brass column, three-way dimming activated by touching anywhere on the metal surface. Touch-sensitive switching wasn't yet standard in wall switches during the 1980s. The lamp was a genuine technology novelty that also functioned as furniture and carried the aspiration of both. Someone on Reddit described theirs precisely. "My mom got it in the 80s. If you touch any part of the metal, it turns on." Bathroom carpet peaked in the 1960s and 1970s and persisted into the 1980s, and calling it a mistake misses the point entirely. The logic was sound, softer on bare feet than tile, warmer in winter, and it coordinated. Avocado green was introduced as an appliance color in 1966. Harvest gold followed in 1968. The coordinated bathroom, carpet, toilet, tub, sink, all in the same color, wasn't an accident. It was a system. The color coordination extended to the toilet paper. A refrigerator installed in 1974 was still running in 1987, and nobody replaced a working appliance because the color had gone out of fashion. What ended bathroom carpet wasn't a design revelation. Purell was introduced to consumers in the 1990s. Bird flu, swine flu, a decade of public health scares that, as one public health researcher documented, instilled a deep, almost visceral fear of germs. In that new framework, a porous fabric receiving daily shower steam and wet bare feet became literally unthinkable. Gone in a single decade. The popcorn ceiling was spray-applied drywall compound mixed with either polystyrene beads or vermiculite, a functional product installed on tens of millions of American homes from roughly 1955 through about 1990. The sold reasons were genuine: noise reduction and concealing imperfect drywall. Both were real advantages. Some ceilings installed before 1978 contained asbestos as a binder, not a uniform national standard. The percentage varied by region, builder, and specific product formulation, but common enough that intact asbestos poses minimal risk, while removal concentrates exposure and triggers professional abatement, which is why so many of those ceilings are still up. But before the asbestos question, every person who grew up under these ceilings knows the specific visual of the water damage. The brown ringed depression where the texture has collapsed inward, the stain spreading outward from whatever pipe dripped above it, darkening toward the edges. Call it a ceiling tide mark. You know exactly what that looks like. You have stared at one. Glass block was factory glass, used industrially for admitting light to interior spaces without windows. The postmodern architectural movements of the late 1970s and 1980s took industrial materials and gave them a sophistication signal, the same gesture that put exposed brick in restaurants and structural concrete in lofts. In 1984, a glass block wall in the entry hall of a suburban home said, "We know something about design that our neighbors don't." By 2000, the signal had inverted. The open-plan renovation wave of the 2000s physically removed the interior walls that hosted them. The glass block went with the walls. The mirrored wall worked on identical logic. Full-height mirrors on entire walls of living rooms, dining rooms, above fireplaces. Every design publication of the decade endorsed them because mirrors make rooms appear larger, and the average 1980s home was smaller than today's, which made the spatial illusion a genuine, practical decision. The secondary consequence? That wall also reflected every family argument, every awkward Christmas morning, and every teenager's self-conscious entrance into the room at a specific angle for 15 years. These aren't separate facts. They are the same memory. The Lladró figurine is a harder object to explain, and maybe that's the point. Three brothers, Juan, José, and Vicente Lladró, founded the company in 1953 in Almácera, a village near Valencia, Spain, and began making ceramic figurines inspired by classical painting and sculpture. By 1965, they were exporting to the United States, which became one of the company's primary markets. Young women, children, animals in pale pastels and matte whites displayed on a shelf or in a glass cabinet. The function? None. The signal, and this is observation rather than documented fact, is that the household has resources beyond utility. There is surplus allocated to beauty. For the American middle class of the 1980s, this was a meaningful thing to say. The fake plant says the same thing differently. The silk ficus in the corner, the plastic fern in the bathroom windowsill, the flower arrangement on top of the entertainment center. Both objects signal aspiration toward something, toward nature, toward fine art, without requiring the maintenance that would make the aspiration real. Both are honest expressions of a decade that could finally afford to want things that served no purpose. Then there is the rest of the house. The wood-paneled basement with the pool table and the mini-fridge, carried over from the 1970s. The hardwired intercom system with a kitchen panel and bedroom stations. A domestic technology amenity that let parents summon children without climbing stairs, marketed as a genuine feature of a modern home. The smoke detector with the orange plastic housing and the 9-volt battery that announced it's dying at 3 a.m. with a single chirp every 45 seconds for what felt like 6 weeks before anyone dealt with it. The clear vinyl slipcovers on the good sofa, applied by a generation of homemakers who had grown up with actual scarcity and weren't prepared to let upholstery be casually destroyed. And the TV tray. A folding metal table that converted any chair in any room into a dining position. Put the tray up, turn on the television. The channel changes slowly because you have to stand next to it. Each of these objects had a different ending. The Waterbed's killer was foam. By 2013, Waterbeds held less than 5% of the mattress market, replaced by memory foam and innerspring hybrids that delivered the same pressure relief claims without the weight, the electricity cost, the lease clause, or the leak. Brass followed design publication consensus. Brushed nickel replaced it, then matte black replaced that. Bathroom carpet exited with germ consciousness. Popcorn ceilings are still coming down because removal is physically labor-intensive, and pre-1978 installations add the asbestos question. Glass block and mirrored walls went with the open-plan renovation wave of the 2000s, which removed the interior walls that housed them. What replaced the entire system is its precise inversion. White walls, bare floors, stainless steel, clean lines, no purposeless objects, no dust-accumulating textures. Neither system is objectively better. Each is a complete, coherent expression of what its decade believed a home should feel like. The waterbed is in a landfill somewhere in Ohio. The bathroom carpet came out in 1992 when the house sold. The brass fixtures were replaced with brushed nickel, and then the nickel was replaced with matte black. And the matte black will be replaced by something else before any of us understand why. The popcorn ceiling in the guest bedroom is still up. It has been up for 37 years. Someone is going to deal with it eventually. The touch lamp still works. It's in the garage, in a box, next to the Lladró figurine that nobody wants and nobody can throw away. You know exactly what that house smelled like on a Sunday morning in 1986. You know the specific sound the waterbed made when you sat on the edge too fast. You know the color of the Harvest Gold refrigerator under the kitchen light. None of that is gone. It's exactly where you left it. Subscribe for more stories like this.